in UK, they the studies, the new studies, and as they're going through the numbers that they cooked in the books, they found out, and this is a significant amount, almost a quarter of the UK COVID deaths were not caused by the virus. I'm gonna repeat that one more time. I think it's 23%. New data, as it says in the headline, and this is coming from Washington Examiner. You can also read it, Telegraph. A bunch of people covered it. So new data shows nearly 1/4 of UK COVID-19 deaths were not caused by virus. Continue on. New data show that nearly 1/4 of registered COVID-19 deaths in the United Kingdom were not caused by the virus. Updated numbers from the UK Office of National Statistics show that 23% of registered COVID deaths are people who died with the virus, not from the infection, which is a thing that we all got called conspiracy theorists for when we talked about book cooking. It's like when you have something that supposedly is as contagious as they are, when the tests are not as accurate, of course you're going to get instances in which you have people that they're claiming to have died from this, which didn't. And when it comes to this particular subject, you're seeing people, they're so emotional about it. Some of you guys have talked about this, and when you talk about book cooking, they act like there's no way that could ever be a thing. Oh, no, there's people dying in the streets. I'm from New York. I see the bodies just piling up myself. There's no way that they're cooking. Why would they do that? Why would they do that? I don't know. Maybe it's because you gave them an opportunity, particularly agents of the state, an opportunity to not only just control you, but you gave them economic incentive to do so. Right? So many people. Hey, what are you chewing, boy? Dog's chewing something. So many people have a lot to gain from this. Whether it be the pharmaceutical companies, whether it be even the hospitals, where you had an instance, I don't know how it was in UK, but in the US, people got paid literally for COVID deaths. That's not a conspiracy. Like, that was a real thing. Let's check this out. Let's continue reading. While the patients may have tested positive for COVID-19 at the time of their death, the virus itself was not the primary cause. The news comes as COVID-19 deaths in the country have fallen sharply, with no more than 28 deaths per day recorded in a country that was once registering as high as 60. The numbers seem to back up a warning last year from Dr. John Lee, a former pathology professor at the NHS consultant pathologist, who called into question the way the UK was recording COVID-19 deaths. If someone dies of a respiratory infection in the UK, that specific cause of the infection is not usually recorded unless the illness is a rare notifiable disease. We don't really test for flu or other seasonal infections. If the patient has, say, cancer, motor neuron disease, or any other serious illness or disease, this will be recorded as the cause of death, even if the final illness was a respiratory infection. This means UK certifications normally under-record deaths due to respiratory infections. But Lee noted that the illness listed as notifiable diseases were updated to include COVID-19, but not the flu. Oh, wait, you mean to tell me there is some likelihood? There's some likelihood that some of them numbers were flu numbers? What? No, that couldn't possibly be the case. That couldn't possibly be the case. It just happened to be a coincidence that the flu numbers just we're talking near zero in some places, guys. I'm talking like 1 or 2 recorded instances of the flu. But Lee noted, I read that. It says, in current climate, anyone with a positive test for COVID-19 will certainly be known to the clinical staff looking after them. If any of these patients dies, staff will have to record the COVID designation on the death certificate, contrary to usual practice for infections of this kind. This is a big difference. There's a big difference between COVID-19 causing the death and COVID-19 being found in someone who died of other causes. Making COVID-19 notifiable might give the appearance of it causing increasing numbers of deaths. So, whether this is true or not, it might appear far more of a killer than flu, simply because of the way deaths are recorded. But British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who is a quack, it seems, has not indicated the country is ready to lift virus restrictions, arguing the country's lower numbers are a result of government policy. Of course, we know that was going to be the case. This is why it was so important for spots to reopen throughout the world, because that was exactly what they were going to do. What you're seeing is exactly they are who we thought the Bears are who we thought they were. They're exactly who we thought they were. Doing what we thought they would do, and that was cooking the books, number one. But you have government agents who won't concede this point. They won't concede that, okay, they either got it wrong, their reaction was an overreaction, and they ruined people's lives. So they have to somehow try to make themselves out to be the good guys. We already knew this was going to be a thing. But this is the hilarious thing about it all, is that there's so many people. It's not vindication that I think a lot of people are looking for. It's more of a frustration, because this could have been avoided. People were saying this early on in the pandemic. Guys like this guy right here over at youtube.com/YoungGroup59. I was saying this best stuff back in March and April. It didn't take much to figure that out, that books are being cooked, right? And anybody that looked at it, like the one, was it local news out in Orlando, if I'm not mistaken, was like the only journalist that seemed to want to actually be journalists and say, how about we actually looking at the numbers instead of just accepting them for what they are? Wait a minute. You're recording motorcycle deaths as COVID-19 deaths? That doesn't make any sense. You're recording lab results that are 100% positive, as in everybody that you tested was positive for COVID. That doesn't make sense. And when they did that, that's what they uncovered. But you got quack journalists that refuse to do that because they in on the jig. They're in on it. If they actually were journalists, they would have long uncovered this. If they were actually doing their jobs, they would have uncovered this. But because they weren't, and this is not a unique American problem, stuff like this happens because they just went along with it and accepted the gospel of the state. Well, this is just what it is. We're recording the numbers, and yeah. It's unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Actually, it's not unbelievable. It's very believable. You just watched a clip from my podcast, For Canon's Sake. Catch us live at 12 p.m. throughout the week over at youtube.com/YoungRipper59 and follow us over at odyssey.com/@YoungRipper59. If you want to watch the entire video cast after the show is over, just be sure to become a member on the YouTube channel. Of course, the full audio portion of the podcast is available for free on all major digital platforms, or just visit forcanonsake.com.